hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
That's right in the town. Gotta move the horse and swords to the ready. Chance like a candle in the wind. Fighting for the sake of the king of the country. What sort of sea is blue when you go around those restless through? With a steel and chance of ride in the magic of the night. No one gets the upper hand on a green and pleasant land. Yeah. Some rock with swords in the ass. Speak, man, you gotta tell us where they are. All the peasants are bunting, so are you. Silence, there's not a beggar to be seen. Where are the cowards of the revolution? Where sure she is brewing for a run which wrestles through. With a steel that shines so bright in the magic of the night. No one gets the upper hand on a green and pleasant land. Yeah. Rock with swords in the air. Like some other rats floating on the breeze, hiding in the trees. No chance, they'll never take us alive. Not just a man with walking fire. What sure she is blue, gonna run those restless through. With a steel that shines so bright in the magic of the night. No one gets the upper hand on a green and pleasant land. Solid as a rock with swords in the air.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is April 12th, our first show of April. We were off last week for Easter. I hope everybody had a great Easter. I want to wish all my Greek friends a happy Greek Orthodox Easter, which is today. So there you go. Have a great time and enjoy the food. It's already the next day, probably in Greece, but I hope you had a great time yesterday, I should say. All right, right there, Raven, all for one. Raven is out on tour. They've been out on tour for about a week or so. I mean, they're going out from they went out around the middle of March, I believe, and they're going out till the middle of May. Now, that's a tour. 2 months of playing straight, that's a tour. And God bless John Gallagher. I mean, he went through that brain surgery last year and he came out on top of it and he's out there performing live. And like I said in the chat, I've seen Raven probably a dozen times or more in my lifetime, and they always kill live. They always deliver. John sounds just as good now as he did back in the 80s. He can still hit those high notes, and they're a ball of energy on stage. So God bless them. I just saw that Chris Holmes, they said it was an article in Blabbermouth. Chris Holmes had to cancel his May tour dates because of health issues. I know he had cancer before in the past. Hopefully, it's not that. And it's just a common cold or something. But I look at the tour dates, and there's one show in Sweden. Now, if they're considering one show a tour, there's something wrong with this industry. There really is. That's not a tour. That's a show. The one show had to be canceled. Raven's out on tour for 2 months, so go see them if you can. They always put on a great show. All right, and we got a good one for everybody tonight. Baz Nichols of More is our guest. Mark Lopes of Let Us Pray. We were supposed to have Mark on the show, God, the week before Easter, but we just couldn't make it happen. So we wound up doing the interview a few days later, and it was actually the night before Ross the Boss passed away. I couldn't air the show last week because we didn't have a show. So I've been studying this interview for like 2 weeks now. So we're finally going to get it on. So when you hear us talk about Ross, it was only because it was recorded the day before he passed away. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to air this interview because we had no show last week. So that's the reason why. And we'll get to that interview in the second half of the show. But Baz Nichols of More Up first. We'll play a couple of more tunes between now and then. How about we jump into some Savage Grace, Trial by Fire? probably not the best segue going from thin ice, one more last time to negative approach with evacuate. But our good friend Alex is with us tonight. I want to let his brand new book is out, Tear It Down, How Crossover Bridged Metal and Hardcore Punk. It's on Earth Island Books. Pick up a copy now. Alex is traveling the world promoting this book, but he's going to be in New York in 2 more weeks. The 22nd of April will be at Generation Records in Manhattan. I think around 6:30 at night. And there's going to be a whole symposium and there's going to be a panel and a lot of stuff going on. So get there if you can. I know I'll be there to meet up with Alex and get to say hello in person finally. This book is just amazing. I'm not just saying that because my band Stillborn is in there. Thank you, Alex. No, it's over 600 pages long, and I'm up to page 506 right now. So I'm getting close to the end. So thank you for this great read, Alex. I do appreciate it. All right, you know what? How about we do some let's do a couple of new songs. We'll do some new Metal Church, and then we'll do some new Power Age, which is John Ricci from Exciter's band. I'm having a hard time getting into it. I mean, there's some pretty cool riffing on there. I thought it was going to be more in the Exciter vein because that's what he's kind of always done. It's a little different, and the vocals, Jacques' vocals are like he goes from the death growl to like the regular singing high pitch. So it's kind of all over the place. So let me just randomly pull out a tune. Let me see what I have over here, and then we'll do that. You know what? Let's do the Metal Church first. How about that? No, no, let's do Power Rage first. Okay, here you go. This is called The Devil is Screaming.
Tormented soul.
There's not a thing you can do. Nothing can stop what is coming. It's almost over for you.
All right, there you go. Excited with Rising of the Dead. That's what I thought I was going to get with Power Rage. It's pretty good, but it's just take me a little time to get into it. I just got to give it a few more listens, I guess, and we'll make that happen. Before that, Metal Church with the new song "Feet to the Fire." It's a really good record. If you haven't picked it up, go ahead and grab it. I think my only problem with the band is what I said earlier on is that it doesn't seem like a sustainable lineup. You got Ken Mary, who's involved in so many other bands. David Ellison's in every band out there pretty much these days. So most of the lineup has other commitments in other bands. So how they're going to make this all work over the long time is beyond me. But we'll see what happens. But pick up the record; it's really good. All right, let's get to Baz Nichols for more. We'll play something off the new record. We'll talk to Baz, and then we'll get to Mark Lopes in the second half of the show. Like I said, that interview was recorded the night before Ross passed away. So we talk about what's going on with that. And he said it was over, but it was really over the next day. So I mean, just forgive me for the interview, but I just couldn't get on last week because we didn't have a show. All right, so let's get to what are we gonna do right now? What did I say? Let's get Baz Nichols on for more. Let's play the title track of the new record, Destructor.
Time ticking so loud in this room. See the Joker
Bez, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you, and can you hear me? That's that's the main thing. And can you see me?
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay, I haven't got you on the screen. You've suddenly disappeared, but I can hear you.
Yeah, it's for audio anyway. It's for the radio, so we don't need video. It's okay.
Okay, fine.
Plus, I don't know how to use this Zoom to begin with. I'm an old guy. I'm not up on this new technology.
I'm a technophobe as well, so there you go.
All right, that makes sense. Hey, well, listen, it's great to be on here. I'm more excited that after a very, very long time, there's new music, by Moore, and I'm happy that you were able to get this album out finally. It seems like it's a long time in the making.
Yeah, well, it was, and there's been so much that's happened. It's delayed it along the way, but there you go. Life gets in the way, unfortunately. But yeah, it's yes, it's been a long time, but at last we've managed it. And it sounds great.
Yeah, it really does. It kind of brings me back to the old days of Moore, but yet I don't want to say modern because people hate that word, but it sounds like where the band would be today if they were consistently putting out records.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah. We try to stick to true to our roots, but also bring it up to date with having Chris doing the production. It's a far better and bigger production than the old band. But yeah. But we still kept with the riff bass, new wave of British heavy metal, and yeah, it's turned out good.
Absolutely. And they're trying to keep it sounding a little bit like the old days. It's kind of hard because 40, 50 years have passed since that time. You were in a certain place musically back then where, the sounds were coming out and they were new. All these years later, with all the different influences coming to your life, how do you kind of
This is,
like,
in the old way, it's a
yeah.
yeah. People expect it. People expect it, and they get it. And that's it. It's great.
Is it difficult getting back into that frame of mind the way you guys wrote and recorded back then?
Um, well, it was slightly different, because the dominant person in the band originally was Kenny Cox, the guitarist, and I joined the band just as they'd finished producing the second album, Blood and Thunder. So I joined to promote the band, and Kenny was the main writer, and Mickey Stratton was the writer of the vocals. So yeah, it's changed. It's changed since then, and obviously Chris came in, and Kenny's died, and Andy, the drummer's died, unfortunately, and Paul Mario Day passed away in Australia. So although we've kept it as true as we can, there are different personnel, and yeah, it's and different writing, but it's still the same. It's still the same new wave songs, but brought up to date.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, how far back does the music for this record go? Is it back to around
Well,
2012, 13, 14?
well, what we tried to do was to span the years. So there is the track More, the last More, we actually demoed in about 1984. So we go right back to there, and in 2000 we demoed Scream and My Obsession. So there's two from that era as well. So we tried to span the years and bring it up to date with all the new stuff as well.
You definitely done that. I mean, people listening to this record would not know that some of these songs go that far back because it's very cohesive and all flows together pretty well.
That's right. That's right. Well, we
Uh, But
there are certain techniques and things that we use. I won't give away our secrets, but we still keep them. We still keep those, and that's it.
yeah, I mean, was this album planned on? Were you planning on releasing this album all those years back, or Chris passed away? We all know that quite a while ago. Did that kind of put everything on hold, and did you kind of forget about the album that was being produced?
No, 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 no. What happened was, unfortunately, Chris passed away just after Christmas, and Killing Machine were due to be in the studio the next in January, straight away after the New Year, with Dan McConomy as their manager, and unfortunately, as I say, he passed away. So um, what we did was, we had to support the family more than anything,
Yeah.
because because I was very good friends with Chris and the rest of the band was obviously. And so we tried to support the family as well. And after a couple of months, we had to go into the studio and help break down the studio, which was heartbreaking to say the least. And Dave Ross took it upon himself to volunteer to sell on as much equipment as he could and things like that. And he did a sterling job. And while we were in there, three guys from a band called Blind Tiger came down, and we still had the radar system that he recorded with. It was still all set up, and they knew how to work the system. So they came in, and we asked them if they could find our files on the album, and they did, which was great. So we managed to copy down the files onto a stick, and after that, after we dealt with the gear and things, we then tried to get it sorted, and then COVID came in, which was lovely.
Mhm.
So we had a couple of years out through COVID,
Yep.
and then, these things just get in the way. It's taken a long time, but we've got there. It's always been in the back of our minds to do it, and a couple of years or so ago now, or whenever it was, we contacted Dan Economy, who I mentioned earlier. And I got Chris's widow Jane to contact him because she still knew him, and we asked him whether he was still interested in producing the album for us, in getting it out there. So after due deliberation, he came on board, and from there it just took off. And yes, we managed to get it out there, and we've set up our own label and everything, and at long last, the third album is out there.
I'm so happy that it is. And when you did retrieve the files and you got them back, was there a lot that had to be done to them, or did Chris get them to the point where they could just be released as is?
Well, he had been doing the final mixes up until that Christmas, um, but we were unsure whether he'd done any mastering at all on it. But he had got them up to finished mixes, so to speak. Um, anyway, we passed it all down to Dan, and Dan's got a great ear, and he said, "I think this has got to be mastered." So he said, "I'm going to send it out to Mal Applebaum in LA." And it went out there, and it was just mastered or remastered, whatever it was, and they did a magnificent job. But the rest is all as Chris left it. But the mastering has been redone, and it's brilliant.
Very nice. Baz, when you think about it, you came into the band in the early 80s. I mean, back then, this whole music scene was kind of new and just starting to take off, and every band wanted to get signed to a major label, more on Atlantic Records. I mean, what was it like dealing with a major label at that time? I mean, was it challenging? Did they want the band as is, or did they want to make the band something more than
Well,
more, I should say?
well, unfortunately, I wasn't in the band long before we were dropped by the label. But no, I came in, as I say, to promote the second album, and my baptism was a couple of little gigs and then straight off on a European tour. So it was, I didn't have much to do with talking to the record company. But once we got back off the tour and that, they wanted us to do a single, a more commercial single. So we wrote Trickster, and we brought that out with our version of Hey Joe on the reverse. But that's the only sort of dealings I had with them, because I was, I was literally too busy. And we had a manager. It was just everything was sorted for us. We just had to turn up and play and rehearse and do. It was it worked like clockwork. So I didn't have any dealings with the actual record label, because the manager and Kenny would deal with all that.
Well, considering, like you said, Tricks, they wanted to go in a little bit more commercial direction, but you also play music from the Blood and Thunder record and the Warhead album.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
were you happy about the change in direction with that song, or did you feel it was worth doing it because it could maybe get the band that extra attention and extra stuff that they
Well,
needed?
it was strange. They wanted that, you see. So we went in a rehearsal studio and we stood looking at each other. We didn't have an idea what we were going to do. Kenny came up with a couple of chords and a sort of riff thing, and then I put a type of police bass line on it, and then we got something going, and it just worked from there. And Mick Mick Stratton came up with a good vocal line. It was very commercial, but that's what they wanted. And they when they played it to the ladies in the offices up in London, they loved it. So, well, okay, great, we'll go with that then. So, but then what do we put on the B side? And we were just jamming, and I just started to play Hey Joe in double time, and it just come out so good that we put it on the flip side, and that is how that record came about.
That was a great cover of that Jimi Hendrix tune back in the day. That was a really cool version of it. And if the ladies like it, you know you got something good going on because that's what you're playing for. That's what you want to get.
If you keep the ladies happy, you're winning. It's simple.
Absolutely. But you know, it wasn't much longer after all that the band kind of broke up. I mean, how did that all come about that it ended?
That's right. After that, yes, unfortunately, yeah, we were out on tour, and I think they pulled. They pulled the last few gigs. I can't remember what happened. It's a long distance past, but yes, it all suddenly broke up. But Kenny, Andy, and myself, we kept going. So Mick Stratton went his own way then, but yes, we kept it, and we had several sort of lineups after that. At one stage, we had German record labels and that interested in us, but then Kenny had all his strokes. Poor Kenny had 6 strokes in
Yeah,
2000, so that was devastating to say the least. And
I
then
know.
and then we got Chris in the band. I suppose you want to know how we got Chris in the band.
Absolutely, because people know him as a prolific producer, not a musician.
He was a really nice man. Um, well, I was in another band, local band, called Dangerous Breed, and Mike Freeland was our vocalist in that as well. So, and we were doing quite well on the local scene and that, and we were rehearsing one day, and we saw this magazine with this big mega producer sitting there with all these guitars around him in his studio. And I just said, oh, we could do with somebody like that recording us. And Mike said, oh, my mate was his oppo, in the studio. I said, really? Yeah. I said, well, can you get his telephone number? He said, I'll try. Next thing I know, Mike turns up with Chris's telephone number and says, would you phone him because you would know what to say? So I said, yes, okay, give it here. So I phoned him up, told him who I was and what the band I was from. And we went in and we did a demo. And that's how it started. And me and Chris became very good friends from there because we were both old school. And from there, he changed his studio, and I helped him build a studio down in Deal, the ecology rooms. And he was going over to Germany with his manager to drum up some business at a very large festival, Bang Your Head. He said, would you like to come? I said, oh, yes, please. So I was there. And we were over there. We were watching Heaven and Hell with Dio up in the gallery on the side of the stage. And this guy from a German radio station came up to me and said, are you from Moore? I looked sideways. Yes. Yes. He said, oh, we'd love you to come over here and play. I said, well, unfortunately, I have a problem there. He said, what? I said, well, our guitarist has had 6 strokes. I don't have a guitarist. And Chris said, I'll play guitar for you.
Wow.
I said, are you sure? He said, yes. And so anyway, so I said to the bloke, well, okay, I'll try and sort it out. Anyway, later on that evening after we went backstage, me and Chris, I said, were you serious about that? You're going to play guitar in the band? He said, yes. He said, but we've got to get as many original players as we can in the band. I said, okay, right, fine. Anyway, the next day we were out on the festival site, and Mike Freeland was singing it with Praying Mantis at the time. So I tapped him on the shoulder. He looked round, startled to see me at the festival. I told him the scenario. I said, would you be interested in coming back here and playing this gig with more? He said, oh, yes. Okay. And I went backstage again, and I phoned Andy because I had Andy on my mobile, and phoned him, told him this scenario. Would you like to come over and play? Yes. So we had Andy, Chris, Mike Freeland, and myself, and that's where it started. And that's how Chris got in the band.
That's a great story. Over the decades, I have to say now, because it's more than just years. The band has had a lot of starts and stops over the years. You went with by X
Yeah.
More
Oh
2012.
yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah.
why not why not just use the original More name throughout that whole
Well,
time period?
there was a little bit of I don't know. I don't know. There was a little bit of tension there because Kenny was still alive and that, and something about not using the name and that. So because there's a place in Britain called Exmoor. So I said, why don't we call ourselves Exmoor then? So I said, yeah, okay. So that's what we did. Yeah, it was just to go out and play. And then after we turned up and played as Exmoor, the promoters wanted us to play as more. So,
Yeah.
and in in 2000, Kenny had called the band More 2000 for some reason. I don't know whether there was any trouble with the record label. I don't know. Anyway, so I said, well, why don't we call it More 2012 now? It's a new one. Okay, so we did that. And then after a while, everybody said, well, you're More. So we've gone out as More since then. As simple as that. There's no real reason behind it, but we just carried it on, and that was it. So we're definitely just called More, and we've registered it as such.
Yeah, I was going to say, because a lot of bands back in the early 80s and 70s, they didn't think about registering or copyrighting a band's name. They just figured we're the band and that's it. But as years go on, it did lead to a lot of problems with a lot of bands because certain members didn't want the name being used and they had to
Yeah,
keep changing it. So I kind of get that. But I'm glad that just back under the More name once again.
that's right. Yeah, no, it's good. I love the logo as well, so that's it.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. So, but now that the album's out and everything, so how do you go? What's up now? Do you go out and just start playing shows? You try to get on the festival circuit? How do you work it now?
Well, that's what we're going to do. We went out last year and we were playing a few festivals, smaller festivals and that. We headlined one festival and we did another one in France just before Christmas and that. But since then, we've been putting the business model together. We really have, because these days you have just got to do it. So we've been concentrating on that. And we've got another gig coming up in May, which is at the Cart and Horses in London, which is the Iron Maiden pub,
Yeah.
and we're doing a gig up there with Air Force on Paul Mario Day and Paul Diano. So both ex Iron Maiden vocalists. So we're doing that, and yes, we're going to try and get on as many festivals and things as we can. But obviously, it's going to be difficult because most festivals are booked. But we will be standing by if anybody drops out. We will see what we can get on. Yeah, no, the idea is for us to go out there and play and promote this album. Yeah, definitely.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, you're right. Festivals do get booked out very far in advance. So maybe like the next go around. But, now that this album's out and people are going to hear,
That's right. Well, that's it. You see, it will open doors for us. Hopefully, this album, and then we can get on a lot more festivals because festivals like people that are selling albums.
absolutely. And you definitely going to have that with this record. But now, do we work on new music, to come out quite not far too in the future past this album?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said with this album out now and people hearing it and getting the word and the name of the band out there again, do you jump back into the studio as quick as you can to put out a follow-up record to this so it's not 20 or 30 years in between?
No, well, the guitarist that we got at the moment, Peter Welsh and myself, we're starting to write for the next album, and Dan McConomy wants to produce it. So it is in the back of our minds, and we are working towards it. But yeah, we've got to get this one out and this promoted properly, which we're trying to do. So yeah, it is, but it is in the motion, so to speak, to actually get a fourth album out.
That'll be great. And before you mentioned Dangerous Breed, I remember the Reprogram Yourself record from I think 2011 or 12. That was some really good stuff that you had on that record.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, we did have a no. It was a great little band, So yeah, but it's been a bit of a feeder band for this one because um, our drummer Steve Ricks actually was the last drummer in Dangerous Breed.
Yeah.
And when Chris joined the band, he wanted the second guitarist. So he said, I think we should have Paul Stickles on second guitar, and he was from Dangerous Breed. So yeah, it was a feeder band for this one.
Well, that's good. I mean, doesn't it help that you guys are all familiar with each other and the way you play and the way you
Right,
write music?
that's right, that's right. Well, this is it, you see, because yeah, we played, Sticky as I call him, Paul Stickles, and we played for quite a few years in Dangerous Breed, and yeah, and Mike was the vocalist in that, so it was a nice little family anyway, and in comes Chris, and there you go.
Would you ever think about revisiting that sometime in the future, or maybe just as a side project or something else? I know more is the focus right now, but it was such good stuff. I hate to see that like disappear.
Well, I don't think it's going to disappear. The two of them are thinking about doing it anyway. So that is, I think Paul Johnson and Paul Stickles, are the two guitarists out of Dangerous Breed, are thinking about doing something along those lines anyway. I wouldn't be interested in doing that at the moment, not with this band as it is. But yeah, no, I like the stuff, and I wrote some of the stuff for that band, So yeah, it'd be good. But yeah, I know that they're talking about it, but good luck to them. I hope they get it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice. Barry, I'm going to let you go now. I want to play some songs off the record. And I mean, Destructor is out. What a killer job you did in this album. And I know we're not going to wait 40 years for the next one.
I hope not, because I won't be alive then. I'm pushing my luck now. Let alone
Yeah, we're all getting up there. I hear that.
That's right.
All right, well, you take care, my friend. You have a great night.
Okay. And thank you very much. And thank you for the interest in the band. I appreciate it.
Been a fan since the beginning. Thank you. Take care, Barry. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Shadows fall and sunlight silently gives way to night. Her hand is cold as ice takes mine, sighing softly as the moonlight hides the colors from my eyes. Her lips lay gentle on my skin. Immortal, immortal, eternity in ecstasy. Immortal, eternity lies next to me. Darkly stained, you're always on my side. My dreams are in your eyes. This heart will always beat with yours. She turns to thee before the sunlight melts the night away. The darkness now belongs to me. Immortal, immortal, eternity in ecstasy. Immortal, immortal, eternity lies next to me. Eternity in ecstasy. Immortal. Eternity lies next to me. Immortal.
All right, more with Immortal, another new song off the Destructor record. Pick it up if you haven't had a chance to yet. It's a great album. We're going to get to Mark Lopes in a little bit. We have a few more tunes to go between now and then. Before I forget, by the end of the show, next week, we're going back to the underground again. Lisa St. Anne from Kid Gloves. I finally found a member of Kid Gloves. I was looking for the longest time. We'll have Lisa on the show next Sunday. Hopefully, it'll be a good interview. Every time I interview like one of those long lost bands that had like maybe just one record out or a couple of demo tapes, it's like dead air. You can hear the crickets in the background. Nothing ever goes well with those interviews. Most of these bands really don't have any remembrance of what they did or just didn't really mean nothing to them as much as it means to us as the fans who have those albums. But that's how it goes all the time. So we'll see what happens next week. And also, Joel McGee from Crimson Steel. Heaven and Hell's putting out that record. We're going to talk to him next week, so don't forget to tune in. We got a great show for everybody. Not a lot of shows in April because we were off last week, and I think in May I'm actually going to be away for 2 weeks on vacation, so I might have to pre-record at least one of those weeks, so we're not going like only 2 weeks without shows, so we'll see what happens. All right, how about we jump into some, well, Christian wanted to hear, what did he want to hear here? He wanted to hear Druid, Forced Entry. Let's get that on for Christian. There you go, Liege Lord for the King. Before that, Griffin was Traveling in Time and Attacker, Captives of Babylon. I love that second Attacker record. I always wonder what would have happened if Bob Mitchell was still in the band all those years and they were putting out records, if they would have gone any further than they did. I thought Bob was great in that band. He was a very defining voice for them. But John Leone on the second record did a killer job also. So, things just don't work out sometimes. I saw on Facebook that the promoter for the Blades of Steel Festival was saying that he was talking about like bands that are like long running bands and not having all the original members anymore. And he was asking like, do you still work with the same people you started with? And he's kind of relating it to a job and a product. And he got a lot of comments on that post, and I was surprised because half of the people are fine with bands going out there and playing with little to no resemblance of the band that they once were, or any of those members and stuff like that. And the other half kind of took offense to it, saying that it's those three, four, five guys in a band that create a product that you're talking about and make that music. It's magical, and I have to agree with that. I mean, listen. Those early Merciful Fate records with the five original guys in the band, they're classics, they're masterpieces. I love it from the bass to the drums to the guitars to the singing. The later ever Merciful Fate, it didn't do nothing for me. I buy the records, I listen to them, but it didn't have the same feel with missing some of those guys in the band. The reunion didn't feel right because it was missing some of the key members of that band. So listen, I'm as long as one of the key members of the band, whether it's the songwriter, if you could keep the original singer preferably, that's always good because that's the voice that kind of defines the band. But there are a lot of bands out there that have gotten back together with just the key songwriter, and that's fine because he's going to keep that band sounding the way it's supposed to sound, and you're going to go along for the ride with the singer. But I was really shocked that so many people just don't mind that. Like you look at Rudy Sarzo. I mean, he's out there with Quiet right now. He's not even, he's really not an original member, but he's got more connection to the band than Frankie Banali did. I mean, Frankie was a long-serving member of the group, but Rudy goes back to the to the Randy Rhoads days in the second record when he came in around that time, even though he didn't play on it. I think Rudy is associated with more records or have his picture on more albums that he didn't play on than ones he did play on. The Quiet record. I think it was Whitesnake, Ozzy. He didn't play in any of those records, but his face appeared on them. So you thought that he did. It's just the way it goes. So is it a different record because he's not playing on there? I don't know. I mean, you know how I feel about this, and I could talk about it forever and ever and ever. But listen, this is the way we live right now. And somebody's right. Goes, listen, if you don't like what these bands are doing, don't go see them. There's an Ace Frehley band. Ace Frehley's backup band is out there playing right now as an Ace Frehley tribute. That seems to be the new thing. That all the ex-members of bands that had one original member left that who's gone. I mean, is the Ross the Boss band going to come back without Ross the Boss? I wouldn't put it past some of the other guys that are in that band. They might just actually do it. You never know. Is Death Dealer going to replace him? Probably. It's just the way life goes. I get that, but you're one key member of the band and you're not there no more, I mean it's time to fold up tent and just call it a day. That's the way I feel. All right, let's get to this interview with Mark Lopes. Like I said, it was recorded the day before Ross passed away, so we talk about him a little bit. But like I said, it was a 2 week old interview. I just couldn't get it on last week because of Easter. So let's get some Ross the Boss on right now, and then we'll talk to Mark.
Fight the fight. Never lose sight. We are the chosen. Rise or defy. Wearing crowns, submit bow to absolute masters of a darkened world. They choose.
Mark, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Mark.
Sorry I'm a little late.
It's okay. I know when you're the last one on the list, you always run a little late. That's what happens. Don't worry about it.
Nah, cool. How you doing,
All right.
man?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to talk with you today. I mean, I'm so happy that you got back to Let Us Pray, and we got a new record. It's been about 6 years, so I'm happy that you were able to get together and do this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. I'm just glad that everybody is really digging this new thing that we're doing, and it's exciting. It feels good. It feels real good.
I'm glad. You kind of take this back to the beginning. I mean, was this meant to be more of like a studio project or like a one-off type of thing with you and John? It was always meant to be a full-time band.
It was, yeah. In the beginning, we were going for it. I mean, we had offers from Century Media, and we were in, and unfortunately, all that kind of never worked out for one reason or the other. And then I got when I got the Ross gig, kind of everything changed from there. So
Yeah, yeah, you got to put that you got to make that a priority, I guess, and then, you went
right,
from that to Metal Church and then back, it's been a lot going on musically the last couple of years with you. So it's not like we didn't get anything, but it's just nice to have Let Us Pray
right,
back again. And so
yeah,
like going
yeah.
from here
Well,
on out, is this going to be your main?
what's that?
Yeah, Mark. No, we got cut off for a second. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, it was Let Us Pray was always in the background. Me and John continuously worked all the time, and my big thing was is I always felt that it needed to be presented in a certain way because I felt like it deserved it. And I kept waiting and waiting until I could get more of a platform to do it on. And it just so happened, the way things fell, and here we are.
I hear that, but I'm glad that it did work out that way. Not at the back of Ross getting sick, and being really sick. I mean, and the bullshit with Metal
Yeah.
Church. But I'm glad that you were able to
Yep.
put this all together again and do it. So I'm happy about that. And what kills me is that the last record, Virtues of the Vicious, came out like around COVID, and I felt like it didn't get the
Yes.
attention it deserved because there was just too much else going on. I mean, how do you feel
Mm.
about that record looking back 6 years later now? But the release of it.
Yeah. I mean, the timing sucked for sure. We did a lot of cool stuff. We played as much as we could when that came out and before. And obviously the COVID thing, and then Ross, and then Metal Church thing kind of, did it. I look back at that record. I'm definitely proud of what we did. But I feel like we're definitely in a little bit of a different place now, and the sound shifted a little bit, and
Oh,
it's definitely a
absolutely.
more extreme, and hence the cybertech thrashcore I fear. Because it pretty much is what it is. It's something I made up as a joke at first, but it's kind of been sticking. So
That it
yeah,
has.
and
I mean,
yeah,
I thought I had all the genres down by now. You just added another one for me to have to remember.
well, let me tell you something. I did that because I wanted my own. And
That's the
I
way to
was
do it.
like, if anybody says this, they stole it from me.
No, it's definitely a
And
cool
that's
moniker and a
how it's
cool thing
known.
to go
So
by.
I'm the one that came up with it. So
We'll have to make a note of that. But
yeah,
yeah, you're right.
exactly. Yeah, yep, yep. I'm very
The
proud of
sound
it.
on the sound on the new record, nothing like the Saint of Killers, nothing like Virtues. I mean, you've definitely evolved. The band has evolved a lot, like since those records, and not in a bad way where I'm
Yep.
saying, those were no good, this is better. It's just a natural, I guess, evolution.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's weird, but it's like I try to tell people, I'm like, we have like, no word of a lie, we have like 3-second albums that we had done in the past. We never finished them, and they sound nothing like this. It's the craziest thing. And not that it's bad. It's a whole different vibe. And I started over the last couple of years just really, really being into extreme music, and and wanting to experiment with electronic stuff
Yeah.
because it's something I have always liked, but I never really had the resources or the time to do it. And I just started doing it, and it started to really have this unique thing to it. And I was like, wow, I think I might be onto something. And
Was it trial and error?
John thinks I'm insane, but that's okay.
You know,
Yeah.
trying to do this and put it together, was it a really like a thing of trial and error, seeing what works, what doesn't work, or maybe how far you can, push the music into one direction or another?
Yeah, one thing is that I'm allowed the luxury of experimenting because we do everything ourselves. I don't got to wait for a drummer or a bass player or anything like that. Where between the two of us, we handle everything. And with the tools that we have, I can nip and tuck and do all kinds of stuff that I need to do to get a finalized version of something before we go and record the real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And and go ahead, sorry.
no, go ahead. I'm listening.
No, and and we started working with a new production team for mixing and stuff, which was part of the whole, which is also a very important part of this because I wanted to work with somebody that was younger and in tune with today's stuff and production wise. And it works. It works, and I'm very happy with it. So
Like when you think about, the Ross the Boss stuff, you're gonna go, you're going with power metal. That's what Ross is known for. That's what he's gonna deliver. That's what
right.
he's gonna do. So,
Yep.
being able to experiment, which you can do with your own band, has got to be a plus to it because, like you said, you can do
Oh
all this
God,
stuff
yeah.
where you couldn't do that with Ross. Not that it's a bad thing, but that's not his style or his genre. So, do you worry about because so many of your fans are going to come to Ross the Boss because that's where a lot of them know you from, or even Metal Church, which I don't want to get into that because I think it sucks what they did to you guys that I treated you. But I'm just saying, he goes,
Yeah.
this is a whole new thing now. So, do you worry about like trying to
Right.
bring those fans over to you because it is something different than like what you would have done with Ross?
I'm not because I mean if they like what I do, I mean awesome. You're always more than welcome, but I know not everybody's going to be into that. And that's okay. That's totally okay. It's just part of it. Not everybody's going to like everything you do. I mean, hey, there's a lot of people that didn't like what I did with the Metal Church record. And I think it was pretty wild what I was able to do with something that I had very, very limited room to work with. So now having this freedom to do whatever the hell I want, it's pretty fantastic.
Oh, it's got to be, but it's funny because the people that didn't care for what you did with Metal Church, it must have been a little bit more that did because that was the highest grossing record ever.
Yes, thank you.
Charting record.
I'm
So
glad.
obviously there was something there.
Yeah, it was like I just remember that the assignment was to bring Metal Church into a new era. That was the job assignment, and that's what I did. I didn't want to go backwards, and we wanted to move forward, and that's what I did. And there you go. Yeah, so that part of it was there, and same thing with Ross. Born of Fire was the idea was to take Ross and kind of do what they had done with Priest, kind of give it a
Yeah.
little bit more of a modern edge without losing his sound. I think we achieved that as well.
You sure did.
So yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely will take those as proud moments because it was a lot of work, and but I will say this: working on my own stuff is even more taskful because I'm so critical of everything.
Are you your own worst enemy when it comes to your music?
Yes, it is. I am, and I'm getting better at not being that person, and which is kind of funny because this song came about because it was really short and it worked really fast. And I was like, we got to do something. Because I was like, we got to get something, because if we don't start, we're never going to start, right?
Yeah.
And it just ended up being really freaking awesome. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, this is what we needed to do to get this motor running again. So, you know,
I can't
giving
wait
that
to hear the
away
rest of
was
this
like
record.
giving a child away, you know?
Yeah. I'm dying to hear the rest because we only got the one song right now to go by. So I'm dying to hear like everything else you've created for this record, because it seems like, you know, it was an open book. Anything you wanted to do, you probably did. That, you know, people wouldn't expect you to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. That song pretty much will give you a real good idea of what's coming. You'll get more of it. And then we'll throw some wrenches in there for you.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's always a good thing.
yeah,
Have,
yeah.
have you thought about going back and putting out the other records over again, re-releasing them? Because I felt like, you know, Virtue should get a second shot of life. And, you know, the Saint of Kills
No, I
goes
mean
so far back.
that that got it. You know, that got it a lot of ground, and it did what it needed to do. Um, I think that now we need to really move forward, because this is a whole new beast, and
Yeah.
I want to really push this now, and because a lot of people don't know the band, it's new to them, and I'd rather. And if this is where they start, that's okay.
Well, that's a good thing too. I mean, but you know, you do have name recognition, so that kind of helps out. I mean, the social media playing any
Well,
role in helping out in the band today, or is it just such a big mess of shit today that you can't even get through on that anymore?
what is it again? Sorry.
I was saying, you know, you have name recognition, so people know who you are. So people that don't know who Let Us Pray are, they're going to migrate today because they know who you are. And does that help out
Right, and
any?
that's exactly what's happening. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. Yep, and
And,
yep,
and that's what you want.
a lot of people like this better than anything I've done, because this is the kind of stuff they're into. So it works out for me. You know.
And that's the way you know, I remember, it has to be 89 and 90. I remember getting the Hammersmith demo. And I
Oh
still have
God, yeah.
I still have it in my collection with Dream World, Awakened. I mean, that was some really good stuff back in the day. So I always kept saying, I hope one day he gets back to that. I hope one day he gets back. It'll never happen, but you know, you always hope and dream.
Well, it's kind of weird. We were about 5 years ago. We were going to do a reunion show,
Oh,
and yeah, we were going to do a reunion show, and we were actually going to record new stuff, and it all fell apart. And
yeah.
you know, it is what it is, and you know, it's okay. I think the thing is that could you imagine that now with the things that we have and the resources? You know, we'd
Oh,
be playing European power metal festivals all over the place. You know.
oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. That was some good stuff, but you gotta give it up to that. You did create something pretty cool with that.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, I mean, freaking Amorous was one of my favorite. Those songs are great. I definitely don't take anything away from it.
Ah, you never know. Maybe one day that reunion could happen. Never say never in this
Yeah,
business.
you never know. Yeah, I mean, it's kind
Yeah.
of funny to think I was like 16 years old when we did that. You know?
Wow. Yeah. You guys are teenagers. You didn't have hair on your chest yet.
Yeah, yeah. My voice was so small.
Yeah. But but
Yeah.
but that was a great time. But like, you know, getting back to the new record coming out, I mean, yeah,
Yep.
it's gonna win over a whole bunch of new fans. You're gonna get old fans that are gonna come into it. I mean, how do you propel the band from here on out now? I mean, is Let Us Pray gonna be your primary focus now? Because with Ross being sick,
Yes.
I don't know if anything's ever gonna happen with Ross again. I'm sure he's not thinking
Yeah.
about the music
Yeah.
right now. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's done. You know, everything is over with that, unfortunately. So, other than, you know, actively looking for another professional touring gig, um, this is definitely my main priority as far as music goes. And we're going to keep releasing singles for a while and accumulate it to a record by the end of the year, early next year, and hopefully get back out on stage by like fall. So, because
Is
see, I was supposed to be touring all year with Ross.
Yeah,
So
I
nothing
don't
was
know.
planned. This was not planned. This just happened.
Yeah. No,
You
I
know?
know. It's
And hey, you know what? I think Cleopatra so much for taking the chance on this and doing it. Because like I said, it was not planned. It just happened, you know? So
Cleopatra won't be disappointed with the results when this is all out and done with and everything. But
yeah,
now we're
they
moving on from this, and yeah, Mark.
yeah, Brian's been fantastic and they've been I knew when he came to me, it was like, I've never heard anything like this before. And he goes, it's freaking brutal. He goes, it's like sci-fi. And I was like, I'm like, I'm like, he gets it. I'm like, this is great. He gets it. So I knew we had the beginning of something cool right from there.
Oh man, I'm so happy about that. But like you were saying about not being in another major touring band or something like right at the moment right now. If that opportunity came up, would you have to jump on that again? If something came by in an offer, or would you just say, you know what, I gotta make Let Us Pray happen. I gotta just put my time and effort into getting to this band to that level.
No, I would definitely jump on a touring paid gig for sure. You know,
Yeah.
it's part of my livelihood. And it's what I love to do. But I would say this: I would absolutely not put Let Us Pray on the back burner.
Good.
Yeah, never. Not that ain't never gonna happen again.
I hope not, because it needs to gain traction. It needs to build itself up because you've got so much going on
Yeah,
with it. And you talk about the
yeah.
other bands that you were a part of over the years. Is it difficult stepping into an established band where they had maybe another singer or two before you that established themselves as the voice of that band? Now you got to make
Oh
their
God.
songs your own and yet make your songs yours. Is it a difficult?
Oh,
Is it a difficult thing to do?
extremely difficult. Yeah. Oh God. I think that's been my freaking my curse and burden for the last 9 years. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. Um, but it was a great experience for sure. So
I know, but like with the metal church thing, I mean, I felt like with the record, you really defined your voice as the sound of metal church, and I also think that you really did an amazing job paying homage to the two singers that came. Well, there were three with Ronnie Monroe, but the two main singers, Mike Rowe and David Wayne. Before, I really thought you captured what they did live, and it made it really sound like it's you, but yet you're paying tribute to them because you did have a little bit of each of them in you.
right, and thank you for that because that's really, and it's the same thing with the raw stuff. I mean, no one's Eric Adams, no one's David Wayne, nobody's Mike Howe, but you can capture the spirit and the in the soul of what they were doing. And to me, if you capture that, no matter what you sound like, as far as like tonal wise or whatever, I feel like that's the best way to pay tribute to the people before you.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the imitators because you're not them. Sorry.
Well, that
You know what I mean?
it's no, but it's a lot of tribute bands that do that. But you're not a tribute band. You're doing you.
Yeah.
But you're paying
Yeah.
you're also paying respect to what came before you, which I think is a
Yeah.
noble thing and a hard thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's a difference when you have a tribute band because obviously you're paying tribute to that and you want to sound like that, right?
Yeah,
But when you're in a band that you're going to take someone's place and you're in the band, I think that's a whole different story because you have to establish yourself and still carry it on, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know. I look at it like, Bon Scott doesn't sound nothing like Brian Johnson, vice versa, right?
No, yeah, absolutely,
Paul Diano,
absolutely.
Bruce Dickinson.
Yep.
So it's not like you can say, hey, Bruce, you need to sound like Paul. No, you know? So that's kind of how I looked at it. You pay homage to the past, but you got to do it your way. So, and anybody that comes in trying to imitate these people too much, it just comes across fake as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Well, I think you did an honorable job with both bands, over the years doing what you do. And, with Let Us Pray, you were saying, there's going to be another single coming out and another single coming out before the record next year. Do you think that we're living in a world now where bands are kind of getting back to singles and EPs because I feel like, a lot of these kids today just don't have the attention span to get through a whole record. I mean, get through
Oh,
anything today, not even
absolutely.
a commercial. It's a
Yeah.
it's a hard sell today trying to get people to pay attention to you.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, when I went to Cleopatra, that was the main conversation. I was like, I think I, I think that the way this can work really well is to release singles, keep things focused on this one song visually and, or, audibly, and really focus on these things. So you're not focused on a whole record and having a bunch of songs that no one's paying attention to, and then accumulate it and maybe add like a one or two songs at the end as new on the record, and then release it like that. Because I feel too
That
many
that's
songs on records don't get the attention.
They don't because people don't listen like they used to. But I play from start to finish, but I'm a different generation. I'm from the
Yeah,
70s and 80s. I'm
exactly.
going to play my music that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. You're not getting the people sitting down listening to like what we did when we put Metallica or an Iron Maiden on, and you put on. I remember clear as day grabbing Peace of Mind and sitting in a room in the dark with my headphones on and going from beginning to end with no interruption, just focused on the song from beginning to end and how it flowed, and the flow and the order of the songs was part of the experience.
Oh, so true. That is
Yeah,
so
and
true.
that's
That's the
gone.
way we lived. Yeah.
Right. And so that's gone for the majority of things. So now you have to come up with a new kind of experience. And I think, obviously, with all the technology and the attention span and all the little things I think doing it like this has a better chance of people paying attention to it because they can go back to it, right? And you're still just focused on that song, you know, instead of
Yeah.
going, oh, shoot, what's the other 9 tracks sound like, maybe, if they even care.
It's a generational thing. I mean, that's, because like I'll buy an album and sit there today, play start to finish over and over again. And my kids will come by and I mean, my kids are in their late 30s now, but they'll come by and take one
Right.
song, play 2 seconds and walk away. I'm like, you're not going to play the whole song? I just played the whole record. It's generational. And I get it. When we were kids, we had TV and radio. There was nothing else. There was nothing else to
Right.
keep us distracted. Today, there are so many things out there. And but
Of
do you have
course.
to change the way you write as a musician or the way you focus on the music because of what it takes to sell music today? I mean, do you have to be bothered with both of that?
No, I just write how I write. I pay attention. I pay attention to certain things because that's just how I would approach it anyways.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of interesting. I've been really into short, compact compositions with massive impact. And what got me into that was I remember a couple of Terror albums ago. I put the album on, and literally it was 20 minutes long. And I thought that I didn't have all the songs. And I'm like, I went to my friend. I'm like, dude, is this the whole record? He goes, yeah. And I'm like, these songs are like 2 minutes and 10 seconds long. He goes, oh yeah, that's how it is. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's
Oh
pretty
God.
cool, man. So I started to experiment with doing shorter songs with a lot of impact.
Yeah.
And this is
You
one of
gotta
them.
get the point across. As long as you get the point across. I
Right.
mean, Venom writing At War with Satan today with a 25-minute long song. That's history. It would never sell what happened
Right.
today.
And then that's the thing. It's kind of like I it's kind of funny, like there's a track that we have that's like 5.5 minutes long. And I'm like, oh, that's long. That's a long song. I'm like, I'm like, we'll release that at the end with the record as like a title track because it's epic. But
Yeah.
no one's gonna pay attention to the song for 5 minutes. And it's kind of funny. I never really thought I'd have to say that, but it's true. you know. And
Yeah.
I just think that I can get what I need to get across. You know, I'm not. If a song is long and it works, then it works. Whatever, you know. But I'm really into trying to see how I could make it like this compartmentalized freaking piece of aggression.
I get that. I mean, listen, if you're happy with the way the song came out and you can get your point across in a quicker amount of time, as long as you're the songwriter, you're the musician, as long as you're happy with it, then everybody else has got to go along for the ride.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly what it is. At the end of the day, like I'm working on a brand new one as we speak, and there's this one section of the song I've been laboring over probably for a week and a half. The rest of the song's done. It's one section. And I finally got it. And it was funny because I must have went through 20 versions of this small section that adds up to about 25 seconds.
Wow.
But there was a certain thing that I was wanting to feel on there, and I wasn't happy till I got it. That's just how it works sometimes. Sometimes it comes together quick. Sometimes it doesn't.
When you find yourself forcing yourself to come up with something, does it take even longer, or does it just make you work harder to come up with that piece?
It depends. I find that sometimes I work really good under pressure. And like, for instance, like the Metal Church record, you know, we really had to get that moving. So, you know, I had to come up with a lot of stuff in a real short amount of time. And what I ended up doing is I just focused on a certain amount of them. And to be honest with you, some of that was done really quick because it had to be done.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not really normally how I would work, but when you have a schedule and a deadline, you got to do what you got to do.
That's the way it goes. Hey, but Mark, look, I'm not going to keep you. I know you've been doing these things all day long. And Nameless Blood, I mean, this is just the beginning of a lot more to come in, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited for everybody to hear even more stuff, and thanks everybody for the support and giving it a chance. And we will not disappear again. I trust you.
All right, I believe you this time. All right, Mark, you take
All
care,
right,
my friend. Have
my
a great
man.
night.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
All right, brother. Bye.
My pleasure. All right. I want to thank Mark Lopes for being on tonight's show. I want to thank Baz Nichols for being on tonight's show. Don't forget to tune in next week. We got a great show. Joe McGee from Crimson Steel, Lisa St. Anne of Kid Gloves. I'm sorry, I bit my tongue before I said that. Of Kid Gloves. We're gonna have a great show next week. Don't forget to tune in. How about we wrap it up here with the one more tune? We didn't get to do a lot of chit chatting and talking tonight because we had two guests on, but next week, everybody's actually live next week, so you never know how long the TV is gonna go. We'll find out then. But I will see you guys later. How about we close it out with some Hammers Rule? Stop the world. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday.